everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing some little paintings in my sketchbook. So this here is my Sennelier watercolor palette. I really love these pans. They are very high quality. And here is my sketchbook. This is actually the sketchbook that I bought from Baylee J, and I found it really good, but I want to test out how well it does with watercolor. So I'm masking off some small squares, as you can see here. And I'm just filling in a light wash with some blue paint, very diluted, so it's very subtle. And after this, as you can see, I am adding in some masking fluid. This is a Winsor & Newton masking fluid, and it is quite good for masking in different sections that you don't want the paint to be. And I'm just doing some little flowers and leaf shapes with that masking fluid so that I can go over it with a darker color, and then I can go back to that area later to paint in the little details. So I'm working from back to front here, and I'm also working from light to dark. As you can tell, I've got just a soft blue wash and then a subtle green background with some trees, and then I move in to a more saturated pigmented green for some bushes, and then after this I work in some shadows in there as well. And now I'm peeling off the masking tape, and I am just beginning on the foreground, which is just some little plants. Now this doesn't need to be perfect or anything, I'm just having a bit of fun here, and overall I like the vibe. Now I'm just adding in a little bit of pink here for the flowers, and the little dots that I left over too are also yellow. After this, I'm just adding in a little bit of detail to those ferns, and we are done. Let's peel off the tape and look at this little beauty. So I think for the next one, I want to paint a little sky scene, and I want to draw a moon. So what I am doing now is I just drew around a glue lid so that I could have a nice circle, erased it, and now I am painting over with some masking fluid to mask out the moon so that afterwards it will remain white. Now I'm actually just splattering a tiny bit of masking fluid for some stars, and now we are going in and painting the sky. For the sky, I'm beginning with some layers of purple here, and I really love adding purple to my skies because it just gives it that really nice galaxy feel. After this, I am mixing in a little bit of Payne's grey, which is like a bluish sort of grey color, and after that I'm adding a little bit more blue here, a more saturated blue. After that, I decided to dab in a little bit of white gouache, as you can see here, just to add some soft little clouds, and I let that dry, and now I'm layering over some more shadows with a bit more blue, a little bit more purple, and a little bit more grey. I'm adding extra blue around the moon because I feel like the moon will have a slightly bluish glow to it, so I want to make sure that there is a lot of blue surrounding the moon because honestly I just think it looks pretty. Now it's time to peel off the masking fluid and start to paint the moon. I mixed a little bit of Payne's grey and a dark brownish color to make a sort of more neutral grey color, and then I removed all of the little bits of masking fluid from the stars using an eraser, and now it's time to peel up the tape, and I think it looks really cool. For my next one, I masked off a nice rectangle here, and I'm using a lot of green to make a really nice dark base to go off of. And at first I wanted to try and paint an aurora. I used a lighter, slightly more opaque and saturated green over the top to start the little blendy effects, and I made sure to add it on when it was really wet so that, as you can see with the white here, it's also doing that sort of bleeding out sort of texture. Now I'm just adding a little bit of more green over the top of the white because I feel like the white's a little bit too much and we are sort of losing a bit of that green color amidst it there. And it was at this point that I decided to change what I was painting because it didn't really look too much like an aurora to me. And honestly, the little parts that sort of stuck out with the sort of wet on wet effects kind of made me think of electricity or lightning. So I decided to just run with that, and I would make a little like green lightning sort of illustration. Now I used a few layers, and then at the end I used a layer of a sort of shimmery whitish silver color over the top, and I think that suited it really well, and it really looks like green lightning in the sky. I just really love the look of it. And as you can see now, I'm adding a few more forks to the lightning bolts just to make it look a bit more realistic, and honestly I love it. This one was pretty fun to make, and honestly I didn't expect to paint lightning in this. I thought I was going to paint an aurora, but overall I'm happy with the results, and I think it looks pretty cool. So it was at this point that I realized there's a lot of greens and blues and purples, and I really kind of wanted to warm up the page a little bit. So I decided to paint a little gradient here with a few different reds, a really dark crimson, and there is a more orangey red here, and then it blends into a yellow at the bottom. I decided to make this into a really nice sort of silhouette with some trees in front, and for some reason my camera didn't record that part, but here it is. So for this next one, honestly this one's probably my favorite of the bunch. I actually decided to mask off a sort of L shape instead of just a square because I wanted to fill the space a little bit more, and I felt like it might look cool having some not like perfect rectangles. So my idea behind this was I wanted to paint a bunch of leaves, almost like a sort of small section of a bush. And I started off with a light layer of a diluted light green color, and then I masked off some leaves with my masking fluid, and then after that was dry I painted over with a slightly darker green color, and then as you can see I masked that off again with my masking fluid, drew more leaves, and then I layered over the top with an even darker green. This is sort of my dark green mixed with a little bit of the light green. And then after this, surprise, surprise, I actually masked off more leaves. This is getting a little bit repetitive, isn't it? But you get the gist. And after this, I decided to just have a really dark green at the bottom, as you can see, and that's more of the shadow sort of colors. And then after that, I went in with a sort of dark blackish color just to add a few shadows in the full background. And now as you can see, I'm peeling off all of that masking fluid now to reveal this really cool leaf pattern. I really like this technique because it is a fun way to get some really nice depth in your paintings. And after this, I decided to go over with just a little bit more green and add some details like veins to the leaves just to make it a little bit more visually interesting. And honestly, I really like this one. I think it turned out really nice. Now it's time to peel off that tape and get that satisfying edge. Look at that. It looks so good. So for this next one, I decided to do a similar shape, but obviously flipped here for the bottom. And I decided to go with the theme because there seems to be a theme here with like nature or like natural kind of things. As you can see, there's a sky, there's lightning, there's plants, there's a sunset. So I decided to do a nice blue background because the page needed a little bit more blue because there was only blue in one painting. And then I decided that it also needed a bit of red as well so that it would tie everything in together, as well as purple. So I decided to do a nice little sky with some butterflies. Now I think this one's called an agrias butterfly. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's Agrias, I think, butterfly. It's really pretty. It's got some little red parts in its wings and purple and black, and it looks really cool, and I felt like it suited the theme very nicely. Now for the black parts, I decided it would be probably better for me to have more control, so I decided to use a brush pen to do the black details around the butterflies. And I'm glad I did that because honestly I really like this part. I think it looks very good. The butterflies turned out really nice, and I decided to just add a little bit more of an opaque reddish gouache over the top, just for some parts of the red to make them pop a little bit more, maybe a little bit of a highlight or like the light shining through. And then after this, I got some of my shimmery watercolor paint and just did a few dots in between the butterflies just to break it up and add a little bit of a shimmery flair to it. And honestly, I think it looks so cute. I love this part of the page. At this point, I felt like I was done, but I really didn't like how there was a little bit of white space in the bottom corner there, so I decided to do some little tiny mini paintings on either side of the sunset kind of one, and I did a gradient with some purple and blue, and on the other side I did a gradient with some green and yellow, and then over the top of that I painted some little leaves here to stick to the theme, and I just used some dark greens for that so it wasn't so intense, and little details up and next to the leaf as well. And on the other side I used my shimmery white watercolor for some little dots here. Now these could be rain dots, these could be snow, it could be whatever you think. It's kind of up to the viewer, I guess. And honestly, I am glad I added those little tiny mini ones there, because we have a really nice variety of sizes and shapes on this page, and I just love each mini watercolor painting. I just think they are all so cute. So anyways, which one of these is your favorite? Please comment below which one is your favorite. I'm gonna have to say the leaf one and the butterfly one is my favorite, but I also really like the moon because I think that it just looks really pretty with all the little stars in there. I just wish it was a little bit more saturated. I had a lot of fun painting this sketchbook page, and it was really nice for me to not like worry about making a perfect illustration. I could just do something fun in my sketchbook and just paint for the sake of painting. And honestly, I feel like it turned out really cool. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like and subscribe button to get your Scribble fix in the future, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye everyone.